Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast comes from a fan's perspective on IndyCar and other forms of motorsports. I got to introduce my co-host, Tim Reiner. Hey, Timmy.
Hello, Dan.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
So business travel for you this time.
Yes, business travel. That was a long day today in one airport for a very, very long time, over 4 hours. But yes, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, a little too early for the race that's
That's
coming
right.
up, right?
They're setting up though. So if you get a chance to go out there, you'll see that they're setting up.
Yeah, well, I'm only here for a day, so it's a quick
Oh.
turnaround trip. But yes, I'm hanging out in Nashville.
Yeah. Hey, it's good to see you. I appreciate you getting on. Tim, there's just too much going on. And by
I know
too much
this
going
is.
on, I mean one dude and two teams.
I know this is
Right?
like an impromptu episode here that we
Yeah.
did not plan, but we decided to do it this morning. But
Yeah, we did.
yeah,
We had some prompting here from one of our super fans. So
that is true.
what's happening? So if you haven't heard by now, and I can't imagine you haven't, Chip Ganassi Racing announced on Tuesday that they had picked up the option on Palou's services to drive for the team in 2023.
Yeah.
Then, after a short period of time, we got a lengthy tweet from the driver himself stating that he didn't intend to drive for Ganassi in 2023. He had already made those intentions known to the team, refuted the alleged statement attributed to him by Ganassi Racing, and if that wasn't strange enough, McLaren Racing announced they had signed Alex Palou to a contract starting in 2023. So,
What a bizarre series of events.
Yeah, I cannot believe this is where we wind up here. Season is really at the midpoint, right?
Yeah,
And this
definitely.
is a crazy, silly season that seems to be going on forever and ever and ever. So first, McLaren's statement said nothing of where Palou would be driving in 2023. Formula One, IndyCar, Formula E, Formula Extreme, they got teams in all of them, right? It only
Yeah.
said that McLaren Racing welcomes Alex Palou to the team's driver roster. I can't imagine a scenario where Palou would leave IndyCar for Formula E or anything
Yeah.
other than to stay in IndyCar or potentially going to F1.
hmm
I don't think he would go as a reserve or a test driver. Do I look? Let me just state this right up front. Do I think he's going to McLaren to replace Danny Rick? No, I don't. But he does have the requisite number of super license points. He could race in Formula One next year if he were
Yeah.
given the opportunity.
And I saw a tweet from Daniel Ricciardo that said he intends to go through with his contract next year and drive for the F1 team in 2023. So that statement came out just recently as well.
Yep. So Daniel Ricciardo intends that. And don't forget, Chip Ganassi was planning on status quo.
He was.
So there's always the qualifiers. Danny is intends. Chip was planning. So nonetheless, neither Herta nor Award have enough points. It's a good spot to ask this question. Tim, why leave Ganassi? Would you leave the team? There's always a part B. Would you leave the team that helped you to your first race win and your championship in your sophomore season in IndyCar? Would you leave them, Tim?
On the surface, no, I would not leave them. I would stay with that team and I would go through with the contract for next year. But obviously, McLaren is offering a lot of different things to a lot of young drivers in order to get them to come over to the McLaren team of drivers, if that's what you want to call it. So I'm assuming there's aspirations, one, to get paid. I'm assuming that's one of them. The other one is to get to Formula One and be testing the Formula One car, because that's what Herta just did a few days ago. And Award was out there testing that F1 car as well, which was the last year model. So that's the carrot that Zach Brown and the team are dangling over all these young drivers to say, hey, come over with us. And we have the opportunity to at least test you an F1 car, look at how you do. And then at that point, potentially put you in an F1 car, because they're the only IndyCar team that has an F1 car, as all of our listeners know.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. But if it was me, I would Ganassi's the premier team right next to Penske when it comes to IndyCar.
It is.
And I don't know why you would leave for McLaren unless you have aspirations to go to F1. And Ganassi, for some reason, like I said, didn't want to pay you, which I think Ganassi should have or could have, or
We're going to get there.
yeah,
Yep.
should have paid him. And so you make the jump and you make the leap. I guess you're young and you get one shot at this.
Right. So if I'm hearing what you're saying, it's really asking the question, does Alex Palou covet a Formula One seat? Right.
Mhm.
So according to an article in motorsport.com from David Mulcher Lopez, seems to indicate that Palou's desire to be in F1 is as strong or stronger than that of Colton Herta or Pato O'Ward. Again, I don't see that happening in 2023, but I guess stranger things have happened. I don't see it happening in 2023, but stranger things have happened.
But when you say that when McLaren makes the announcement that he's on the driver roster, that means that there
It's
may be
possible.
some legal circumstances that he cannot drive for another team in IndyCar next year based on his contract, unless there's some buyout. I would imagine there's something in there. And so I gleaned some of that from some of the things I was reading today, that maybe there is a clause that you cannot leave our organization to drive for another team in IndyCar until your contract's up if we take the option on you.
Yeah. All right. So let's start to unpack some of this a little bit, right? So we got the first announcement from Ganassi, we got the refute from Palou, then we got the announcement from McLaren. So why would Ganassi make such a statement if the deal wasn't 100% clear to both parties?
It's a good question. I think they thought it was clear in their mind. They thought legally he had to come back to Ganassi, and so therefore they could make the announcement, even though I'm sure they heard there were talks between him and McLaren, but I'm not sure if they knew that they were as deep as what was divulged over the last 24 hours.
Right. Palou came out pretty strong in his statement on Twitter. Was very, very strong on that. He found out through media, which means he was blindsided by it. I didn't approve the release, and the statement by me wasn't me, right? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, the quote.
Basically calling BS on the whole announcement. Okay, just straight up BS on the whole announcement.
Mhm.
He had informed Chip Ganassi Racing that for quote personal reasons he wouldn't be driving for the team in 2023. Tim, what the hell does that mean? Personal reasons? How about business reasons? Or no reason other than I want to race for McLaren, who could possibly give me an F1 opportunity? And I think that's where I want to be.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering at the same sense when I see personal reasons, like how much his dad has influenced this decision as well. We spoke with his dad briefly while we were in Detroit and congratulated him on his son's success and
Yeah.
asked if he was, super proud of his son and all this. And he acknowledged it, but
No, you're
he
right.
wasn't overly, I don't know what the
Enthusiastic, right? Yeah.
enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Yes, he was
Yeah.
very, I don't know if the right word's melancholy about the situation. He's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing our thing. And
Yeah.
so there must, obviously there were rumblings back
Yeah.
then. Now that I kind of reflect back and go, why isn't he happy that his son's driving for Chip Ganassi? He won the championship last year. He's in a position this year to win the championship. All roads look super bright on the Ganassi front. And then all of a sudden this comes out.
Right. I want to put a link to the show notes for the motorsport.com article from David Mulcher Lopez, because it does talk that sometime around that Barber timeframe, which is, of course, before Detroit, that some of these very informal talks or nudge, nudge, winks, winks, or whatever it is, right, overtures from Arrow McLaren or Zach Brown to Alex Palou were already starting to take place. So to your point, when we spoke to Ramon in Detroit, he probably already knew some of this stuff was going on behind the scenes. Ganassi probably already knew some of these things were going on behind the scenes, and they weren't happy about it. Because if you recall, when we saw Alex in the media bullpen in Detroit, all these questions were about where are you going to be? Are you interested? We've heard people are interested in bringing you on board, and all that stuff. And he did a great job, I think, answering those questions. But it was out there. It was in the universe. So we're, so personal reasons, right? If personal reasons are because Ganassi hadn't renegotiated his contract to something commensurate to his output on the track, then I'm all for it, for Alex to look for something else. If Chip was going to take somebody who won the championship in his first year with the team, his second year in the series, and is now fourth in points in his third year in the series
Hmm.
against a resurgent Penske and a
Yeah.
resurgent Chevy,
Yeah.
fourth in points, and he's not renegotiating that, and he's not brought up the money or brought him to where he should be paid, maybe for given what his track record indicates, then yeah, I think he probably is well within his right to go somewhere else. What do you
Hmm.
think?
Yeah, but I think at the same time, the driver's father, and whoever represents Alex
Mhm.
Palou should negotiate that within the contract from the beginning to say, hey, depending on success and what we do, here's how we get paid, right? So if
Yep.
that wasn't laid out, it was Ganassi had every right to go based on what's in the contract and what's laid out legally and say, this is what we're doing based on what we already sort of put together. Now, shame on him if he didn't go back. And again, this is speculation. If he didn't go back and say, hey, based on your results and what you've done so far, we're going to renegotiate this and we think you need to be here.
Yeah.
And I would have think he would do that if he thought Alex Palou would leave or have a way to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I you took the words out of my mouth. I think, yeah, you're living up to the spirit of the contract, and that's what it was agreed upon. You didn't build any caveats in here, but who knew? I mean, I don't know that anybody really knew that this is what this what Pelot was going to be capable of in first year with Ganassi. So,
Yeah.
2-year deal with an option, and that's where that is. We're not insiders, obviously. I mean, we don't know what's gone on behind the scenes. We don't know if Chip has offered him an extension with a significant raise or not.
Mhm.
Um, but from where I sit and where I stand right there, something
And
is odd in how
And I
that's
also wonder,
transpired.
like, how much money does McLaren have to throw around? I don't know. They were filing for bankruptcy not too long ago, or they were
They were
in a position.
mortgaging everything just
Yeah,
a few years ago, right? I mean,
yeah.
they
So
mortgaged the building, that beautiful headquarters of theirs, and
yeah,
now all of a sudden they're just out, right? They're like sailors at a bachelor party. I mean, it's
yeah.
like it's crazy. Um, so moving on, I'm certain that Ganassi put out this statement because their legal team is telling them they have a strong contract that will see Pelot in the number 10 in 2023. Here's, think about it. Ganassi is not a small operation. They're not a new operation. They're a championship caliber team at multiple levels of motorsport, and certainly would have a strong legal case prior to putting out that statement. Maybe they were told from Pelot, I'm not going to race for you, right? And they knew that something was going to possibly be coming to them from McLaren. So whatever they did, they got ahead of it
Hmm.
and then just said, hey, we've got a legal contract.
Yeah.
So Superfan Mark writes, is it possible that Ganassi releases Pelot before the end of the season out of spite? Or does Ganassi fight this and keep Pelot next year? These are great questions from Mark. Thanks for that. Um,
I like that you call him super fan.
I know, me too. Well, he's our first like real YouTube super fan, so that's why I call him that.
And he interacts with us all the time,
He
so I guess he
does.
can
He's
be a
great
super
too.
fan.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's a
totally.
great asset to us out there. Fans' perspective, and he's helping us with that fans' perspective. So we appreciate that. So I want to take the second part of Mark's question first, and that's, does Ganassi fight to keep Pelot next year? Tim, do you recall some of the quotes from Chip after he sold his NASCAR team? You might
Not
not. I'm putting you
exactly.
on the spot.
No, not exactly. Maybe something to the effect that, he's willing to sell anything.
Everything is for sale,
Hmm.
right? He'd
It's a
just buy
good,
it again or buy something else.
yeah.
I believe that applies here, right? Pelot's services could be for sale here. And if McLaren wants him in the driver family that badly, then they'll need to put up some dollars. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I I think Ganassi has to take that route at this point, right? I think Ganassi wanted him, but it doesn't look like he's going to keep him. by
Yeah.
any means. And so at that point, you try to get what you can from from a monetary perspective and go with it. And obviously there's going to be hard feelings, and there's going to
Yeah.
be bridges that are burned during this whole situation, which is unfortunate. But I think at the end of the day, the driver's got to look out for themselves, and they got to make the decision that they think is right. But then you got to reflect on that 10 years from now and go, did we really make the right decision, or did we
Yeah.
not make the right decision with making this jump to McLaren?
Right. That's for Palou to decide, really. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna leave a team that has a proven record of success, a significantly proven record, solid record of
Yeah.
success for a team that, is putting things together. And at this point, it's kind of a gamble.
Yeah. But you got to strike while the iron's hot, right? You're only
You do.
good at your
Yep.
peak for so long when you're
And it's
racing,
a
or you're in.
dangerous sport, and
Mhm.
it's a short-term sport, right?
Yeah.
He might have, the Scott Dixons and the Elio Castronevises are kind of the outliers with this.
Hmm.
Not everybody's going to have a 20-year IndyCar career,
Yep.
you know. I want to make this point as well. If Palou really wants to go to McLaren, then if I were Chip, I'd take some of that McLaren money and let him go. If I were a team owner, I'd be beyond pissed to let an up and coming championship driver go to a competitor.
Hmm.
But I would do it for the good of the team and the series, right? Because the last thing I would want is someone driving for me or forcing someone to drive for me who didn't want to be there. Imagine the impacts on
Yeah.
morale within the four walls of the shop, right?
Hmm.
Second, if I were a sponsor of the number 10, I wouldn't want to have him in my car knowing he prefers to be elsewhere. If I were that sponsor, or if I was the guy writing the check for that, I would probably tell Chip to let him go and see if they can find the next up and comer.
Hmm.
Moving into Ganassi is not a guaranteed rate of success, right? I mean, Felix Rosenquist drove for Ganassi, Graham Rahal drove for Ganassi, Charlie Kimball. These guys did well,
Ed,
but they weren't champions in their first year.
Ed
They
Jones
weren't
as well.
at Jones as well.
Hmm.
So, can Chip find somebody and do it? Yeah, he's definitely they've got the tools and the pieces around them that they can make a winner out of somebody who has that potential.
Montoya,
Um,
Zanardi,
yeah, exactly right.
found both
Yeah,
of those guys. Yeah.
yeah. Ryan Briscoe, I think, was extremely successful
Hmm.
with them as well. Um, Tim, do you agree with that, or do you make Palou stay?
Oh, you let Plo go. You don't.
Yeah,
It's just
take the
it's too
McLaren money,
toxic.
right?
Yeah, it's too toxic at that point. I think you let him go. Wish him well. Learn from your mistakes if you made mistakes, Ganassi, and you move on.
Yeah,
And you take the fight to the rest of the paddock, right? When it comes
exactly.
to what happens on track.
Which is a great segue to Mark's other question. Does Ganassi release Palou before the end of the season? To me, I doubt it. And I doubt it highly. He's fourth in points, and there are partners, sponsors, etc., that have a stake in these decisions. I don't. It's an emotional decision I might make, but but there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of stakeholders in that. What do you think?
Yeah, I would send a statement if he did release him off
Benched
his
him,
con.
right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a huge statement. He's got the perfect fill in with Tony Kanaan. You'd put Tony Kanaan right in the seat and off you go.
Thank you for
You
saying
could do
Kanaan.
that, but I don't know how that reflects on Chip Ganassi Racing as a whole. But
Right.
at the
Petulant.
same time, it becomes who's more to blame of the situation, and I think people will take sides if you do something like that. So I think it's a risky move to do it, but I wouldn't put past Chip to do it.
Yeah.
Now, if it was me, I would probably leave him in the car.
You'd leave him in?
Yeah, I'd leave him in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I guess I would leave him in, and if it just continues to get worse or worse or worse or whatever, then I think you have to just pay him to go away.
Yeah, like if
Right?
there's a change in
Yeah.
driving, or if there's a change in
Mhm.
how he interacts with his teammates, or how things happen on track with others, then maybe you say, hey, we
Yeah.
need to put you on the sideline for a little bit.
Right. But what if, Timmy? Can we play a little what if for a minute?
Sure.
Before I ask you who you would put in that car, and you already said Tony Kanaan, I want to tell you who I wouldn't put in that car. And I'm just going to reiterate what I already put on Twitter, right? Ryan Hunter-Reay, Captain America. As has been noted here and on my Twitter, Ryan Hunter-Reay is 10 years removed from his championship season and 4 years removed from his last race win. His very good friend Michael Andretti had to pull the plug on that program, which I'm sure was painful for both, but that was the best thing to do for the team. Why would I take out the defending series champion and the guy who's fourth in the championship series or standings currently for someone who, I'm putting it kindly, is a bit past his prime? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but that's what I'm putting out there.
Yeah, and I I think you have the perfect replacement with Tony Kanaan, who's
I
already
totally
in your
agree.
group.
Love
So
that.
I don't think there's any way you'd get Ryan Hunter-Reay over there, and I don't think
Nope.
Chip Ganassi would make that move. You could still make the argument that if you bring Tony Kanaan, and I know there's a ton of Tony Kanaan fans, but he kind of falls into the same category as Ryan Hunter-Reay when it comes to a
Yes.
bit past his prime. But that just has to, it's an age thing. And I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying things change over time.
Tony's still driving other things. I mean, I know Ryan participated in an SRX, I think, recently, but Tony Kanaan is still driving other things. He drove in the Indy 500. He drives in Brazil and some different things. I've seen Ryan Hunter-Reay on that golf cart more than I've seen him, and I didn't see any SRX. So, nevertheless, he isn't who I'd put in there.
Yeah.
With all that,
and you wanted me to say that Santucci was going there, right? If I was Chip,
why not?
He's good. I don't know.
Why not?
We've had this debate several times about.
I'm not a fan, but if you had to put
Santino.
somebody in there to finish out the season, why not Santucci?
You know how fast he would be?
No.
As fast as Alex Palou.
Oh, knock it off. I'm going to mute you the rest of this whole thing. I don't need you from here on out.
In my opinion, he would be just as fast as Palou.
Opinions are like belly buttons, Tim. We all got one and they all stink.
They all stink.
Okay.
Maybe yours does. I don't know about mine.
Yeah. So, frankly, with the series in full swing and the Indy Lights season in full swing, I don't see anyone walking away from their season. What does that mean? An Indy Lights driver has no guaranteed ride in 2023. I don't think would walk away to sit in the number 10. And I don't think someone in Formula 2 or Formula 3 would walk away from what they've got going on right now to sit in the number 10 just through the balance of the season.
Yep.
But I like the suggestion of Tony Kanaan. I think he would be a good choice for that. I think I'm trying not to say he's the safe choice. I think he'd be a really good choice for it.
I think he's the right choice if you're going to make a change. I think he's the right choice due to multiple factors. And one being he's under contract with Ganassi, which just makes sense.
So is Captain America.
He's under contract with
Ganassi I think on the IMSA side, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go back to it because I will mute you there too.
I like the Kanaan pick better.
So do I. So let's fast forward to 2023 season, and you are Chip Ganassi with fresh McLaren money in your pocket. Palou's gone, and you have a seat to fill. Who do you fill that seat with, Timmy? I want to throw some scenarios at you.
Yeah, you might want to do that.
Let me do that. Rinus VK, race winner, comes with some backing, which is always a good thing. I think he would do well with a change of scenery. He's underperformed this year, I will grant you that. But he was first in class amongst the best of the rest at Indy this year. How do you feel about Rinus VK?
He was best of the rest.
Yeah, because it was Ganassi and everybody else. And it was,
but he crashed on like lap 15.
Neither here nor there.
So he was he finished 33rd. I think he was the least performer at the Indy 500 this year.
Neither here nor there.
All right. So he did well in qualifying. He made it a little bit of a show.
Jimmy Johnson, who everybody had winning the Indy 500 this year, crashed out and left in the second turn as well.
Almost cost his teammate the win.
Yeah.
He did it with like 6 laps to go. They had to red flag it. As red as your shirt. Which I thought it was orange for the show, but it's red. Yeah. So I think Rinus would be a good pick, but I think there's others that may fall into this as well.
Ooh, I like it. How about this? How about my ridiculous notion that I posted on Twitter yesterday? McLaren pays $500,000 to Ganassi.
That's it.
Plus Felix Rosenqvist for Palou's release. It's a driver and some cash, right? And McLaren gets Palou.
Oh, so you're saying they're paying Felix's um,
Maybe they're gonna
contract
send.
too, right?
Yeah, maybe
It
they're
says
gonna send a
plus
$500,000 to Ganassi and send over Felix Rosenquist.
and pay Rosenquist's salary.
No, that's extra money. I would just say you're gonna get a $500,000 and we'll send you Felix
All
over.
right.
We'll release Felix from his contract. You can have Felix. Kind of like an
Interesting.
NFL deal, right?
That might be, for Felix, that might be appetizing because he may not want to go to Formula E, but he's putting on the face that, Formula E is fine.
He's gonna get paid to go to Formula E, and he's still in the family, so you never know what's going on. Here's what you're waiting for me to get to. How about Santino full time?
I
I'm
like
a
that pick.
hard no on that, but go
I'm
ahead.
a, I'm a hard maybe on that. Why not give this guy a chance? Somebody step up and some team step up. Think about it. You put him in the car.
Yeah,
He's super fast. You work on his etiquette, if you want to call it that. And you beat McLaren, you beat Penske, you beat Andretti team with Santino being the IndyCar champion. Think about it. It'd be a brilliant move that
it
everybody
would
passed
be
on this kid.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah,
and everybody has for
everybody's passed on
some
him.
reason we don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless. I'm a hard no on it. I'm still a hard no on it. I'd like to see him. I don't know. That's for another show. I wouldn't mind. Honestly, I wouldn't mind to see him go to
You don't
Juncos in
you
a
don't want to
second
see
car at
him.
Juncos.
Yeah, you don't want to see him in the field at all, is my understanding.
I just said I would rather see him like in a second car at Juncos.
No, I'd like to give him the opportunity in a top tier team
Yeah,
just to see what he can do because he's proven in other teams that he's quick and can do stuff. So
yeah.
as long as you can keep him under wraps.
Yep, that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Linus Lundqvist from Indy Lights. He's currently the championship leader. 4 wins on the season, 87 points ahead of Stingray Rob, who's second. He's fast. And we saw him in Detroit. He won those races in Detroit. He's fast. He's somebody in the series already. I think
Yeah.
he would be a good step up.
I
If he wins this championship, he's going to bring $1 million to Chip.
well, yeah. Okay. $1 million bucks.
Yeah.
What did it do for Kyle?
Oh, that's cruel.
I'm just saying, what did it do? Like they kind of overlooked that and went elsewhere.
That's cruel. It's keeping the lights on right now. Logan Sargent. Do you remember that name?
I do.
American kid. Was supposed to go to Foyt this season, but instead opted to go to Formula 2 with Carlin.
Mm-hmm.
He's a race winner in Formula 2, having won at the Red Bull Ring. I think he's part of the Williams Racing Academy or whatever Williams calls it. So I don't know if that would be an issue, but if he had a chance to step up and step into an IndyCar for Chip Ganassi, I'm certain.
You think he'd do that?
I would. Do I think he would? I don't know enough about him.
Yeah.
I would.
Presents a good opportunity for him.
Absolutely.
And it presents a good opportunity for Chip. But I think if you're in that fold for F1, you kind of want to stay there. I just think that a lot of people.
Is he though? That's the thing. If you're in the fold, okay, so let's play that out.
There's only 20 drivers, right? There's only 20
Correct.
drivers. So
let's
very
play
hard to
that
get
out. Where does he go? Does he go to Williams?
I would
Last
think
place
so.
team.
If he's in the academy, yeah.
Perennial last place team versus right the A1 or or B1 team in IndyCar.
You got to follow your dreams. If your dream is to go to F1, and that's what
My
you do.
dream is to win and make an impact and try to get somebody to want to bring you to Formula One. That's what Sebastian Bourdais did. That's what Alex Zanardi did. That's what Cristiano D'Amata did. Come and win an IndyCar. Make a splash. Be brave.
Well, you're gonna have to go to McLaren because that's the only one bringing anybody up. So
yeah, but I think he does have a little bit of a head start in terms of being able to get into Formula One, but that next step I think is very, very steep from going from Formula 2 to going into a quality Formula 1 drive. And I wouldn't
look at what George Russell did. He was at Williams and went up and
yeah, but he was in the Mercedes driving academy. He was always going to Mercedes to replace
Not according to to Survive. There was a lot of debate on who
It's
was going to
all
fill that
baloney
seat.
there. So,
I'm
yeah.
glad you agree with me on
Yeah.
that.
One final point I want to make here. We saw what happened at Andretti in mid Ohio, and that was ugly, right? I
Hmm.
almost feel like there is the potential for this at Arrow McLaren with Award, Rossi, and Palou. As nice as we think Palou is, and we've witnessed it at Detroit, I think there's an alpha streak, just like anyone at this level in motorsport. Okay. Tim, first I'll ask you, do you think there is potential for an Andretti type implosion at Arrow McLaren with Award, Palou, and Rossi?
Absolutely. That is quite the lineup that you would have, and quite the personalities that are not going to get along. So I don't know how
Yeah.
Zach intends to handle that situation, because you've got a lot of alpha dominant people, drivers in
Yeah.
seats. And if they're in the same series competing against each other week in and week out,
Yeah.
it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. Part two to that question is the catalyst for that Alexander Rossi?
Potentially, yeah. Like, how do you feel if you're Rossi? You go over to McLaren, and then McLaren has these two young guys. One you already knew was there, right, with
Yeah.
Award, but then you bring in another young gun.
Yeah. Because if you're
Rossi's like the
thinking,
elder
yeah,
that's going to be there.
if you're Rossi and you look and you say, okay, Award's good. I think I can coexist with him. He'll be, but my other teammate is Rosenquist, and he's a super nice guy, and he might get in my way from time to time, but otherwise he's not really a concern. Now it's the guy potentially
Mhm.
that McLaren paid money to bring to the team, extra money to bring to the team, who has a championship, right? In his second year in IndyCar,
Yeah.
has Formula One aspirations, ran in European minor series, right? Like
Hmm.
Alexander did.
Hmm.
I think Rossi has the potential to be the catalyst for some smoke there.
Yeah. Who's the third fiddle on the team at that point, in your opinion, Dan? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's the problem because I think third fiddle on there is Rossi.
No, which
And I
is
think that's the
crazy to
problem at
think.
Andretti right now, right?
Mhm.
Rossi's now third fiddle, third in English, please. Rossi is now third fiddle at Andretti,
Yeah.
where he might have considered himself heir apparent to Ryan Hunter-Reay, Captain America. But it didn't happen because Herta
It's
came in and won, crazy win, and then you've got this explosion of the Phoenix with Roman Grosjean coming in,
hmm.
and Rossi is third fiddle because Devlin's in his first year and he's still getting things sorted out,
Yeah, totally.
right?
Totally. Yeah, he's a
But if
rookie.
if Rossi goes to McLaren and Zach Brown's able to pull all this stuff off, and Award's got a couple of wins, and Palou's got a couple
Hmm.
of wins, and Rossi's qualifying 15th, and he's burning off tires, and he's finishing 15th.
Hmm. It's gonna be very interesting if all
He's not
three
going
of
to
them
let he's not going to
are
let his
driving
teammate
IndyCar.
by who's on red tires.
We know that. We've witnessed that.
Yeah.
No way of getting by.
Yep. Well, like I said, it's the special episode. This is all I have. It's going to be interesting this coming weekend in Toronto. I wonder if all sides will avoid the questions, right? Which is probably what I would do. It's too soon and too raw. Best not to risk anything and really say anything dumb. But
Yeah, but
who am I
the
kidding? I
media is
would
gonna
probably say something dumb.
the media is gonna want to know. It's on Peacock this weekend,
Right.
and there's only 3 minutes of commercials, is what I hear, from start of race to end of race. So you're gonna see all the action, and then you're gonna see all the pre-action, post-action, pre-race stuff. Someone's going to ask, right? We've been in the
Yeah.
media center, and there are some that are really bold with their questions, and someone's going to want to know.
First thing they're going to ask. Every single one of them. And
Yeah.
everybody's going to get asked, right? And Alexander Rossi is going to get asked about it.
Yeah.
And Award's going to get asked about it.
Hmm.
McLaren leadership's going to get asked about it. Ganassi's going
Yeah.
to get asked about it. Scott Dixon's going to get asked about it.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And the PR team is setting
And
everybody up.
God
This is what
forbid.
this is what you say.
Yeah. God forbid Tony Kanaan be in Toronto unscheduled, because
No,
that's only going to throw gas on that fire.
that is true.
Yeah. You got anything left for some other
I love
news?
what the Bus Bros did this day, right? Kind of, go along with
Yeah. Yeah. I saw it. Yeah.
making
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah.
Very funny that they said they were going to Netflix and
Yeah.
then they had to retract their statement and saying
Yeah.
they're staying on YouTube. So totally playing on what took place over
Yeah.
the last 24 hours,
Yeah.
which was very creative of them. So I give them
Yeah.
props for that. So
Emma
good for those
Dixon.
guys. And I just have to say, their camaraderie's got to be awesome to do that show, to have tweets like that.
But that's
Just
Scott McLaughlin. I think Scott has such a great personality, and he doesn't take himself very seriously like that. And he's willing to just put it out there, right? Like, just willing to put it out there with such great like confidence in who he is. And
oh,
New Garden,
he
I
wore an eagle suit.
right. And he wore a cow suit, right?
Yeah.
And that's the best thing. When he was dressed as the cow, he was like, AJ Foyt just looked at me like I'm an idiot, right? I love that. And it's like, that is so cool. Because AJ Foyt looked at him like he was an idiot,
You totally
right?
did. Absolutely.
So, Tim, you got anything left? You want to talk about some other news? I got a couple of things, a couple of bits.
Yeah, go ahead. I like I said, I was in a
Yeah.
plane in an airport all day and finally got to my hotel and here we are. So
Yeah.
you go.
Colton Herta tested last year's McLaren F1 car. Haven't seen any reports on speed or comparisons. I don't know if they will. All positive. And Colton was giddy with joy. I actually chuckled a little when I wrote that because he's not giddy with anything. But I'm sure nonetheless he was thrilled with that first step in fulfilling his dream to go into Formula One. So I'm happy for him. It's almost 20 years to the day his dad tested an F1 car.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yep.
I didn't know that. Yeah, he mentioned the extra horsepower in the torque at low RPM and how much it was different from IndyCar.
Yeah.
He did mention, going through the process, if you will, to get up to speed in all corners and doing a section at a time and trying to put it all together at the end of the day. And he said it would still take some more time to get where they needed to be in his opinion. But it sounds like he had an awesome experience. And I think that's what all these guys are striving to do, is to get, their butt in a seat over there and just experience that, number one. And number two, see if there's a road for them to get into F1.
Yeah. Yeah. Exciting for him. It would be really, really cool to see, Colton Herta go to Formula One.
Yep.
And succeed.
Yeah.
AJ Foyt Racing has parked the number 11 entry. This was Tatiana Calderon's.
Yeah.
Due to late payments by their sponsor, Rocket. Do you remember Rocket as a sponsor in Williams Formula One?
I don't know.
You don't remember that?
Don't, no.
Then you probably don't remember how it ended, because it ended with a settlement of $35 million paid to Williams due to late payments.
Wow, they got a history.
There you go. Andretti Autosport alleges they have hit the reset button, according to Mark Glendenning's article in Racer.com. In it, you'll see that Michael and Rob Edwards, who's the COO of Andretti Autosport, are confident that there will not be a reoccurrence of what happened at Mid-Ohio. Tim, I'm not. In fact, I'm confident it will indeed happen again.
Yeah, and I don't think it will. I think they figured all that out. I think it's good. They're going to move on from it. They had the emergency meeting after Mid-Ohio, sat all the drivers down together, talked to them. And I think if something happens again, you have to sit a driver, and you know who that driver is that they're going to have to sit if something does happen.
Yep.
And then the question becomes, who do you put in that seat and who sits there? So imagine two IndyCar teams, two top tier IndyCar teams sitting their drivers.
Yeah.
Yes,
what are their current drivers?
It's unprecedented.
Yeah.
What could happen?
Who would Andretti put in Rossi's car if they had to send Rossi home early?
Ryan Hunter-Reay. You've already mentioned his name.
Stop it. Please. I'm so over that.
Why not?
Oh,
put him in there. He's familiar with the team. It's halfway through the season. You make it happen.
Or I feel like half the Indy lights. Or you pull
James Hinchcliffe out of the booth and send him, which I know would never happen.
No, and I don't want to see that for James either. But
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
You'd be curious to see who would go there.
Stingray Rob.
I don't know who he
Well,
races for in Indy Lights. I didn't set up two screens today because we were going to get on this, but
I thought he was
I
in
feel like
A.
Andretti has half the field in Indy Lights.
Yeah, I think he's Andretti.
So he is Stingray Ride. He's second in
Yeah.
IndyCar or in Indy Lights points, and he is Matthew Brabham, who I'm also a fan of, is also in the Andretti Autosport family for Indy Lights as well. He's third in the championship, so maybe Brabham. So.
You said Oriol Serbia was ready to get put in an IndyCar as well, based on you talking
Because
about
I'm a
him at the
violent
Detroit.
talker, so of course I had to hit him in the chest when I saw him, right? And he's solid as a rock. And I would put him in a race car. I'd put him in a race car tomorrow. And then did you see Max Pappas working out at the gym, sending
Oh
a
my
couple
gosh,
of
his
selfies? He's
biceps
ready to
were-
get in a car too.
He is. I don't know if he would, but he's definitely ready. And his personality, you just put him in there. Oh,
Yeah.
Lord. It'd be something to see.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a special episode. Tim, I appreciate you getting on. I know when you left for the airport this morning, you weren't intending to do this show, but I appreciate that. And, and the listeners, of course, let us know what you think. Tell us about what your interests are, whether you have something to talk about here, what we said, you want to call baloney on whatever it is that we've got. Feel free to do that. We don't mind. Or just let us know what you think. IndyCar, Formula One, IMSA, or whatever motorsport you love. Engage with us on social media, our Twitter, Instagram, or at our website. All that info is in the show notes. So we'll be back next week to review the Toronto Indy Honda 200.
Yeah.
Or
something like that.
Or
it's the Honda Indy Toronto or something.
Yeah, it's the Honda Indy Toronto. So we'll be here. We'll be back to review that next week. And or I mean, you never know. There could be a sumo match between Zach Brown and Chip Ganassi. We'll be thrilled to cover that too. One never knows. In the silliest of seasons that we've seen. So thanks for listening and good night.
Good night.